Now, Vero last night made a very valid observation whilst I was making our Christmas mincemeat for our mince pies this year. And that is, she's noticed that most of my cooking, because I tend to do most of the cooking in the house rather than her. She does the odd thing, makes an odd bit of pasta, but I kind of do all the inventive stuff because that's what I like. But she did mention that most of my cooking, for some reason, involves alcohol. It's nearly Christmas! Whoa, and it's getting rather exciting in this house. Helena is beside herself at the moment, absolutely beside herself with glee. Every morning she opens her advent calendar, which is lovely, because normally it's difficult to get her up. But because she's got the whole advent calendar thing going on at the moment, it's quite an easy task. Right, today we're going to make the Christmas pudding. The Figgy pudding, as in the song, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Okay, but first of all, Helena made a suggestion. She's not here at the moment. She's at school. But her suggestion was, she said, Papa, it's going to be a bit boring if you just cook in a Christmas pudding, because your channel, it isn't a cooking channel, is it? And she's right. Helena's suggestion was for me, or for her, to ask me 12 Christmassy type questions, which I'm going to kind of throw in as I'm preparing and steaming the Christmas pudding today. Are you following this? Do you get it? Are you sure? Let's begin. The first thing that you're going to need is a large mixing bowl. Look at the little motif around it. Look, there's a fox. I love foxes. You see him? Anyway, it's quite exciting because normally when this bowl comes out, it means Christmas food preparation. So it's pretty special. So 110 grams of butter. Most recipes would suggest using suet, but unfortunately in France, you can't get suet. Well, certainly not our idea of suet anyway. The first question from Helena. The first of the 12 questions of Christmas. Papa, what was your favourite Christmas? What was my favourite Christmas? That's a difficult one. Well, actually it's not. It's quite simple. This year is my favourite Christmas. My favourite Christmas is always the present Christmas, because all Christmases are absolutely fabulous in their own kind of way. So the answer, Helena, is this Christmas is my favourite Christmas. And 50 grams of self-raising flour, sieved, Question number 2. What's your earliest memory of Christmas? My earliest memory of Christmas is I think it was going shopping with my parents, and I'm not sure what year it was, but I remember all the shops being full of kind of Christmassy type things, and I specifically remember Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody being played on the sort of town PA system, and I'm guessing it was probably the year that Bohemian Rhapsody was released. And funnily enough, ever since then, whenever I hear that song, I associate it to Christmas, although it's not a Christmassy song. So I'm not sure what year that was. I'll have to find out. But that, I believe, is my earliest Christmas memory. 110 grams of breadcrumbs. These are mixed breadcrumbs. So there's white bread, whole grain bread, and I think there's even some cornbread in here as well. Question number 3. What is your favourite Christmas food? My favourite Christmas food. Now, she didn't specify sweet or savoury, so I guess it could be either of those. That's a difficult one. I think it is probably Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts, and every Christmas we always have Brussels sprouts. It might be boring, but yep, that's my answer. Brussels sprouts. Next! And then 1 teaspoon of mixed spice. 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. A pinch or sprinkle of cinnamon. 225 grams of soft brown sugar. And it's already started to smell really, really good. Question number 4. What's your favourite Christmas drink? And the easy answer is mulled wine. I adore mulled wine. The smell of it, the taste of it, the look of it, it is Christmas, and it reminds me of Christmas. And many, many moons ago, I actually went to, this was before it was kind of fashionable, because it's quite fashionable now, everybody has mulled wine. But there was a time back in I guess it was the 80s, it wasn't particularly well known, or it certainly wasn't sold as it is pre-made in bottles. And I went to Harrods one day and asked them if they sold mulled wine. And the answer was no, of course, they sell red wine. But mulled wine is something that you have to make yourself. It isn't something you buy as a pre-prepared drink. But of course, that's all changed now. But yes, mulled wine is my favourite Christmas drink. Next question, please, Helena. And now we just roughly mix those ingredients together. Papa, what is your favourite Christmas song? My favourite Christmas song, up until quite recently, that's quite a difficult one actually. I think my favourite carol, is it a carol or is it a hymn? Is there a difference? I'm not sure. But I think it's Good King Wenceslas. You know, the one that goes, Good King Wenceslas last looked out on the feast of Stephen. I love that one. It always reminds me actually of a collection of stamps that was released in the 1970s. And each stamp was kind of a scene from the song Good King Wenceslas. with regards to my other possible choices, there is two. The first one, which is quite a recent one actually, is The Carol of the Bells, which I absolutely love. I think it's such a melodic, Christmassy thing. It just can't be beaten. And I believe it's actually an Eastern European Christmas song, piece of music. I'm not sure from what Eastern European country, but it truly is beautiful. In fact, I'm going to include a link in the box below for that one, just in case you don't know the song yourself. And I know I'm cheating, but the third song is A Midnight Sleigh Ride. And I'm just trying to think the name of the composer. I believe the composer was Russian, and it was... I can't remember. Troitsky? This is where the magic really begins, because orange, the smell of the zest of orange added to sugar and spices, there's just nothing richer, I don't think. It really is. That's what I say for me. I think memories of my mum preparing for Christmas, and now I kind of emulate that here in our home. It really does add so much to the whole experience of Christmas, really, to be absolutely honest. Because after all, it's a lot of the magic is in the preparation, because this time of the year, in days gone by, this is where all the luxuries were kind of brought out, where people would eat exotic fruits such as orange and eat things like sugar, which I guess, I say, back in the day it was difficult to get hold of and very expensive. Really is quite incredible. The smell I'm talking about. What is your favourite Christmas film, Papa? Okay, well, there's an adult kind of film which has got to be A Christmas Carol, the 1972, starring Albert Finney, who played Scrooge, Alec Guinness, who played Marley, and Jeffrey Bayldon, who played the toy shopkeeper. If you don't know who Jeffrey Bayldon is, he was the guy that played Catweasel, and I was a massive fan of Catweasel. Anyway, that is my favourite Christmas film, which I've watched every Christmas Eve for as long as I can remember. It's brilliant, it's fun, it's a great musical, and it kind of sums up my idea of what a Victorian Christmas would have been like. The second film, which I've chosen because it's kind of like a kid's film, is Home and Alone 2, and that's the one in New York. And the reason I like that is, well, number one, it's a really fun film, and Helena also absolutely adores it. And secondly, it reminds me of my times in New York around the Christmas period. Oh, sorry about that. I had to go and find the answer to this next question. So, what is the oldest Christmas present that you still own or you still have? And I did have to have a good think about this, but the answer is actually quite easy. It's this. It's an old pencil case, very Victorian, A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens looking. And I've had it as long as I can remember. And it is by far the oldest present that I actually still own. And my mum and dad bought it for me, and I love it. I actually keep my scalpels and scalpel blades when I do my craft type activities in it. Keep stuff like that in there, you see. Okay, Helena, next question, please.
So that's the zest of a 1 orange and the zest of half a lemon. And this is a chopped apple. Or should I say a finely chopped apple.
Question 8. Papa. I know why she's asked this. What coloured Christmas lights do you prefer? Now, I know for a fact that what she means is, do I prefer multicoloured lights, you know, kind of like fairy lights, or do I prefer white lights? And the answer, and it's a very easy answer, is I prefer white. But I don't like cool white, I like warm white, and I don't like lights that flash. I hate lights that flash, they give me migraines.
Honestly, just the smell of this mixture, it's, as I said, it beats shop bought Christmas puddings any day. I think we're all a bit guilty of it because we're all short on time, of course, and we think, oh my God, to make a Christmas pudding from scratch at home, my word, it's going to be a really difficult task, and I really haven't got the time. As I said to you, and as you'll see, it doesn't actually take that long, really. And at the end of the day, when you do buy a Christmas pudding in the shop, it's all sealed in plastic, and you don't experience this glorious Christmassy smell.
Question number 9, Papa. Which is your favourite country to spend Christmas in? Now that is a difficult question. I love spending Christmas in the UK because I spend it with my mum, my dad, my brother and my family. I also like the fact that we kind of do stuff like we did when we were kids. The order of the day is the same, so it reminds me of all those many years ago of how we used to spend Christmas together, sat around a Christmas tree, opening presents, etc., etc. However, in France, Christmas is very different because the French, they tend to revolve Christmas, well, like everything really in France, around food, around the table, around drink. So you don't get so much of a traditional spread as you do in the UK, you know, your turkey and roast potatoes, etc., etc. It tends to be very varied. In fact, one year that we spent with Vero's parents, we had venison with wild boar, which was actually cooked on a spit in V's parents' garden. I mean, how amazing is that? It kind of almost felt like a medieval type affair. But the problem is, for me, in France, you don't get that kind of thing around the Christmas tree opening presents together. It's all a little bit diluted. Again, it just revolves around food and drink. So I like both countries for each traditional kind of traditions, really. But just to throw a third one into the mix, I also love New York. Not so much at Christmas, because I've never actually spent Christmas there, but I love New York, well, at the time around Christmas, because I've had, I think, 3 short breaks just before Christmas, and Christmas shopping in New York is amazing, and just seeing New York at Christmas is amazing, to be honest. You have all the Christmas lights, and quite often it snows as well. So that's my answer. I love France and I love the UK for Christmas, but I also love New York. And it also reminds me of times that I've had with my brother in New York as well. Anyway, next question please, Helena.
And we just add 500 grams of mixed dried fruit, raisins, sultanas, etc. I think this is what makes or breaks Christmas puddings for individuals, because not everybody likes dried fruit, particularly in the form of sultanas. I know, unfortunately, Helena can't stand them, so she won't touch this with a barge pole. What a shame.
Question number 10. What thing reminds you most of Christmas? And that, my lovely, is an easy answer. it is mistletoe. I love mistletoe. I love the way it looks. It reminds me of Christmas. It encapsulates Christmas completely when I see it. It doesn't smell of anything, but the colour of it, the shape of it, the colour, the white colour of the berries, I love it, and it does kind of sum up Christmas for me. I love that association as well with druids, and the fact that you used to cut it with, was it a silver sickle or was it a gold sickle? And it was imperative that they didn't let the mistletoe fall onto the floor, because if it fell onto the floor, it would lose its magical power. I don't know if that's something I've read or seen in Asterix, Obelix and Asterix. But anyway, I like that because it's got that kind of pagan element to it as well. But yes, that is the answer. Mistletoe for me sums up Christmas. Just the look of it. Bollocks. Hang on, the phone's ringing now. I think it's Vero. 25 grams of candied mixed peel. Lovely. And 100 grams of roughly chopped dates. Now I will add that dates are another staple Christmas food for me. Let's give that a good old mix up. And then 50 grams of chopped, again roughly chopped, almonds. And I've added hazelnuts as well. In the past I've cooked it with walnuts. You can basically use any kind of nut. Doesn't matter. This is just basically a mix of as many nice things as you can possibly put together. Question number 11. Papa, do you believe in Father Christmas? Of course I believe in Father Christmas. I will always believe in Father Christmas. Why do I believe in Father Christmas? I mean, I'm 51. The answer to that is quite simple. Because Father Christmas exists as long as he's in my head, and I believe that he exists. He doesn't exist in a physical sense, but he exists up there. And to be honest, Father Christmas plays an important part to my Christmas. I'm just a big kid, really. And now comes the first helping of alcohol. Now, traditionally, barley wine was used as well as stout, but barley wine, as far as I'm aware, doesn't actually exist in France. So I basically just use Guinness. And normally it means there's a bit left to drink as well, which is nice. So that's 150 millilitres you need of this. And the final step is to mix the Guinness and the barley wine, if you've got barley wine, with 2 eggs. These eggs come from our chickens. Look how yellow that is. Incredible. And up. Don't want to waste any. And yet more alcohol is involved. 2 tablespoons of cognac. You can use rum, you can use cognac. I've also got Armagnac as well. But today, or this year should I say, I will use cognac. So let's just measure out 2 large tablespoons. There we go, of cognac. How good does that look? Okay, now I'm going to make space for the big mixing bowl. And I will now give this one final mix. Just make sure we're there, and we've got all the nuts evenly spread out with the dried fruits.
It's looking good. And now I will add the Guinness, eggs and cognac. Give this a nice mix. That looks almost good enough to eat. I love the sound of it as well. Sounds like I'm mixing mud. But it tastes so much better than mud, I guarantee.
Question number 12, Papa. What does Christmas mean to you? Okay, let me see if I can pin this down to 5 words. Coziness, togetherness, thoughtfulness, tradition, and love. Okay, that's done.
That's it. Stir away. That's it. Stir away. And wish for there we go. We're going to wish for a good year.
A good 2021 and bye-bye 2020.
Yeah. You know, it's difficult to mix when 3 people have got their hands on the spoon.
Yeah.
2021, l'année de la réussite, du bonheur, de tous nos rêves qui deviennent réalité et plein de projets.
Right, everyone make a wish.
I wish you a Merry Christmas.
I wish
You a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Ah, you're still there. Okay, so it's the next day. I've rested the pudding overnight in a cool place. And as you can see here, it's kind of quite stodgy because the bread's soaked in all of the alcohol and juice, and it's now ready to put into the pudding basins. So, pudding basins. I've actually prepared 2 different sizes. There's the, I don't know what the S means. Again, it's Mason Cash, the brand of pudding basins, which are very traditional. But this is a 30S. What S is, I don't know. Perhaps you could tell me if you do. And this one is a 48S. Okay. Now, from past experience, I've made the same amount of mixture and there's enough to fill both basins, but we'll see how we go anyway. First of all, it's necessary to lightly grease the pudding basin. And what I also do is I just put a disc of this grease-proof paper at the bottom, because again, past experience, sometimes it's quite difficult to get the pudding out without it sticking to the bottom of the basin. So it's just a case of cutting out a disc of grease-proof paper, roughly the same size as the bottom of the pudding basin. And then the next job is to take the mixture and plonk it in the basin. And we get another spoon. It's pretty sticky stuff, this. It's obviously quite important to really kind of flatten it down well so that it forms a good tight shape after it's steamed. A bit more.
the smell is, well, what can I say, Christmassy. What I try and do is get the top, which of course will be the base, as flat as I can. In fact, I actually try and make it slightly, is it concave, where it dips in the middle, because obviously the pudding will rise a bit during the cooking process, and because this eventually will be the bottom of the pudding, you don't really want it to be rounded, so it won't stand straight, but it's not the end of the world. And then the final little task for my 2 puddings is to cover the basins with a double layer of baking parchment, which is fiddly. I normally get help to do this, but there's no help at that house. And there we go. Both pudding basins are now covered in 2 layers of grease-proof paper. And I've also remembered to include a handle, because when you pick the pudding out of the steamer, the whole thing's quite hot, and because the basin's quite big, it's difficult to get one of the like an oven glove around it, so the handles work really well. And there we have it. 2 complete Christmas puddings. How easy was that? I mean, come on, very easy indeed. I must admit, tying the knots on the paper is a bit tricky, but honestly, these taste so much nicer than the ones you buy in Sainsbury's or your local supermarket. So the last thing that I need to do now is put them in a steamer for about 6 to 7 hours, and they'll be ready for Christmas Day.